Out past the dusty hills of Montana Territory, where wind and silence hold hands across miles of sagebrush, there was a town most folks rode past without bothering to learn its name. The kind of town where boots outnumbered books, and the church bell didn't ring much unless someone was getting married or buried. Its name was Dry Creek, and on the edges of Dry Creek lived folks who'd long stopped hoping for miracles. One such soul was a woman named Clara Mayfield, 32 years old, face weathered by sun and sorrow, but with eyes that hadn't given up, not completely, anyway. Clara had 5 young uns clinging to her light roots to dry soil. Her husband, Emmett, had died the winter before, caught in a rock slide while trying to fetch wood during a blizzard. One moment he was there, the next, just silence and snow. Clara'd been scrapping by ever since, batching old clothes, boiling bark into soup, trading her needlework for scraps. But the town didn't take kindly to handouts, and women without men were ghosts in the daylight. One afternoon, with her children pale and too tired to even cry, Clara wrapped her shawl tighter and made a decision that tasted like dirt and shame. She walked into Dry Creek proper, stood outside McAllister's general store, and begged, just begged, no fancy words, no dramatics, just a mother whose pride had been burned away by hunger. Folks passed by, pretending not to see. One man dropped a coin at her feet like she was a dog. Another muttered something about lazy folk, but someone did stop. A tall man, built like a fence post and dressed in black. His hat shadowed most of his face, but when he looked up, there was grief in his eyes so thick it could drown a man. His name was Thomas Granger, a widower, lost his wife to scarlet fever to winters past. Since then, he'd become a man of silence, owned a small ranch just outside town. Folks said he barely spoke anymore, just worked, drank, and watched the sun set with a bottle in his hand and ghosts in his heart. He looked at Clara, not with pity, not with disgust, just recognition. He didn't say a word, just stepped into the store and returned with a sack of flour, beans, jerky, some coffee, and a small tin of jam. Gave it to her like he was handing over a piece of himself. Clara tried to speak, tried to refuse, but he simply tipped his hat and walked away. The townsfolk didn't understand, whispered behind hands. But Thomas Granger, he understood hunger, not the kind that twisted your belly but the kind that left your soul hollow. That night, Clara's children ate for the first time in 2 days. And for the first time in weeks, Clara cried not from fear, but from the warmth of kindness. Now most stories might end there. A good deed, a full belly, a quiet thank you. But life ain't a short story. It's a winding trail with surprises round every bend. Days passed, then a week, then 2. Clara, out of pride, took in some wash and sewing to repay the kindness. She wrapped up a bundle of clothes she'd mended and brought them to the Granger ranch, along with some muffins made from what was left of the flour. He opened the door, surprised, hesitated. Then, for the first time in 2 years, he smiled, not much, just a twitch of the mouth. But enough to crack the ice. They started talking more after that. Short exchanges at first. She'd come by with mended shirts. He'd offer her extra eggs from his hens. Her kids would help him gather firewood or feed his old mule. It was a quiet kind of friendship, born from shared scars. Then one day, Clara brought her youngest, little Molly, to the ranch. The girl had a fever. Town doctor wouldn't see her without payment. Thomas rode 6 miles out to a retired nurse who lived by the canyon. Paid her himself, sat by Molly's side till the fever broke. Something changed after that, not fast, not dramatic. Just steady, like rain on tin. He started spending Sundays at Clara's, fixing the roof, reading stories to the children in that deep, quiet voice of his. And Clara, well, she started laughing again. Not often, but enough for her children to notice. Lightning struck the barn at Clara's place. set the roof ablaze. By the time she woke the children, it was already spreading to the hay. Thomas arrived before sunrise, drenched from the ride. He threw himself into the flames like a man possessed. Saved her animals, doused the fire, collapsed in her yard. Woke 2 days later with a bandaged arm, Clara at his side. "Why?" she asked. He looked at her quiet and tired and said, "Because you reminded me I'm still alive." In the fall, Thomas built a new barn. Clara helped paint it. Her children carved their initials in one of the beams. At the first snow, he asked her to marry him. No ring, no kneeling. Just a question in the doorway, with snowflakes catching in his beard. She said yes, not out of desperation, but love, real love. The kind that grows slowly, like roots in hard soil. They built a life, not perfect, but better than what came before. And the town, well, it changed too, started seeing Clara not as a beggar, but as a pillar. A woman who'd survived a storm and helped a broken man find his way back to the light. People like to talk about heroes with guns and gold. But sometimes, the greatest hero is the one who stops, sees your pain, and shares their bread. So if you ever find yourself wandering through old Montana roads, look for a place where the fences are painted white and a woman's laughter echoes from the porch. That's where you'll find Clara and Thomas Granger. A starving mother and a grieving widower, to souls who found hope in each other when the world had all but turned its back. And maybe, just maybe, that's the kind of story worth remembering.